You'd imagine the people even all get along. They'd almost have to. There's a lot going on. And they live in a world where zero mistakes can be made. Everyone's job is not only important, it's crucial. There have been reports of humans and other things living below the waves for thousands of years. Hi, I'm Alex, and this is WTF. Where does the evidence end and myth begin? There are over 139 million square miles of ocean, and of that, 95% is unexplored. We know more as a whole of Mars and Uranus than we do our own ocean floor. 70% of Earth is covered in it, and yet we're constantly being surprised by the things we find beneath. Now, what if? Stay with me on this. What if the UFOs we've been seeing for thousands of years, instead of coming from outer space, in reality, they've been coming from below the sea? Believe it or not, it makes more sense. Our current fastest spaceship is the Parker Solar Probe. Its maximum recorded speed is 430,000 miles an hour. Very small fraction of the speed of light, though. 64 hundredths of the speed of light. That may sound slow, but it's actually incredibly fast. 430,000 miles an hour, please. But even at those incredible speeds, it would still take around 7,500 years traveling at top speed to reach our closest star, Proxima Centauri. Now, if the ETs, pilots of the UFOs, are making round trips, and let's be real generous and say they can double our fastest speed, that's still only 1% of light speed. Heck, let's be real generous and say they can go 10 times faster than us. That's only 5% of light speed. Well, traveling at 5% of light speed, it would take approximately 85 years for them to travel here or from here to there. If it's a round trip, 170-year round trip. No wonder these ETs look so strange. They're just really, really old. So whether it's ETs, ancient humans, or modern humans with incredibly fast-moving ships, objects have been flying in and out of our deepest water for thousands of years. I'm Alex, and this is WTF. Where does the evidence end and the myth begin? Ancient accounts describe Alexander the Great descending in a transparent bell to survey the seabed. It said that after conquering much of the world, he wanted to seize control of the world beneath the ocean. He orders the construction of what is essentially a glass diving bell, which he intends to explore and conquer the seabed. Whether literal or embellished, the recurring idea is clear. Humans were looking into an inhabited undersea world long before modern diving. Sometime in the early months of 1803, an alien ship came ashore on the coast of Japan. Fishermen thought it was one of their own and rowed out and towed this object in, bobbing in the waves. It wasn't one of their own. The vessel looked like a cauldron, a rice pot or pod. Its bottom was forged from some kind of heavy metal. The top seemed to be rosewood, lacquered and inset with lattice glass. On the beach, villagers marveled at the advanced engineering, and peering through the opaque windows, they noticed something inside writhing. Just then, a panel flung open on the hull, and out stepped a being that looked almost human, or so the many sources tell us. This Utsuro-Bune, hollow or vacant ship, the alien ship, measured about 5 meters in diameter. It was discovered on a beach in the Hitachi province. Its young inhabitant was incomparably beautiful, they say. Her red hair had white highlights. Some speculated it was made of fur. She wore a dress crafted from a strange material, which the local women rather liked, for it could be kept tight on the top and loose near the ankles. She held tightly a small box covered in strange writing, knobs, dials, and lights. From evidence gathered in the vessel, her species seemed to drink water and subsist on mince and cake. She spoke no Japanese. On the beach, they fantasized that she was a foreign princess fleeing from an unhappy marriage of all things. The alien writing system inscribed on the vessel, which made them assume that she was a British, Bengali, or American princess. Now, in a cruel and slightly comedic resolution, the villagers decided to send the alien back to where she came from. They gave her food and water and set her adrift back out in the sea, not out of fear or hatred, but frugality. They didn't want to have to care for the woman for the rest of her life. Let's spin the clock way forward. Twice in the mid-60s, groups of scientists had moved under the waves. The first was Conshelf 2, short for Continental Shelf Station 2, which was a pioneering underwater habitat experiment led by the famous French oceanographer Jacques Cousteau and his team in the 1960s. Jacques, by the way, liked to call his scientists oceanauts or aquanauts. Conshelf kicked off in 1963 off the coast of Sudan and the Red Sea. It was to prove that humans could live and work on the seafloor for extended periods. paving the way for potential underwater colonies, deep-sea industrial work like oil drilling and such. They built an underwater village, including the Starfish House, which was the main habitat shaped like a starfish. It was located at about 33 feet below the water. 6 aquanauts lived there for 30 days. It had a living room, kitchen, sleeping quarters. Then there was the Deep Cabin, a smaller, deeper habitat located 100 feet below that even. 2 aquanauts would live there for a week, breathing in a helium-oxygen mixture to test saturation, allowing them to dive at even greater depths. As an aside, it made him sound like Donald Duck. And then finally, the Garage, an underwater hangar for Jacques Cousteau's 2-man submersible diving saucer. It was pretty cool. A couple of years later, there was an American version of Conshelf called Sea Lab 1 and 2. They not only proved that extended underwater living was possible, they were also famous for working with trained dolphins. The 2 missions left a profound and lasting legacy on ocean exploration, marine science, and even space travel. Now, I love this. In Siberia, there's a lake so big and so deep it could hold all the water from the 5 Great Lakes and then some. Lake Baikal is 13,000 square miles and almost a mile deep compared to Lake Superior's 1,300 feet. It's estimated that the lake is 50 million years old, and when it comes to stuff on the face of the earth, that's kind of old. They say the sediment on the bottom is about 5 kilometers thick and full of evidence of the last 50 million years. The lake experiences over 2,000 earthquakes every year and grows by over 2 centimeters a year. In a much, much distant future, Baikal could become another ocean. The average temperature of the water is 43 degrees. And by the way, that's on a hot day midsummer. The Lake Baikal incident of 1982 refers to a supposed encounter between Soviet naval divers and unidentified humanoid figures in Lake Baikal. According to the story, 7 divers were ordered to capture what they described as nearly 10-foot-tall beings in silvery suits. The encounter, during a dive at a depth of about 50 meters or 150 feet, 7 Soviet military divers reportedly saw strange humanoid figures. Now, the beings, the figures were described as being between 9 and 10 feet tall, with silvery suits and what appeared to be a transparent helmet or a sphere on their heads. No other diving equipment or any insignias, nothing. The attempted capture. The divers were ordered to capture one of the figures, but they didn't really think this through. They had a giant net, like the kind you'd capture a fish. And they also had a harness-type device that they were going to almost lasso one with. As the Soviet divers approached to capture at least one of the figures, all hell broke loose, at least for the Russian divers. Suddenly, the non-humans fought back by shooting intense sonar waves at the Soviet divers. A powerful force rendered every crew member unconscious and rapidly propelled them to the surface. Catapulting upwards from extreme depths can have devastating effects on our bodies, resulting in a condition often called the bends. 3 of the squadron were seriously injured but did not succumb to this affliction. The remaining fellows needed immediate transfer to a decompression chamber. Unfortunately, there was only one recompression chamber in the region, and it was designed for merely 2 people at a time. Out of sheer desperation, 4 men entered simultaneously in an attempt to save their lives. Tragically, this last-ditch effort didn't go as planned. 3 individuals perished as a result of their superiors' hasty decision to capture the aliens. Those who survived the terrifying ordeal would be left with life-altering disabilities. Now, leading up to this, the Soviet Navy commanders had been extensively monitoring the lake because of sightings of numerous underwater vehicles capable of extreme high speeds, USOs. Lake Baikal was no stranger to reports of UFOs and USOs by Soviet military. Many incidents were observed by local fishermen too. The USO phenomenon is real. No matter what's causing it, large craft fly in, out of, on top of, and underneath the water. There are objects reported to move seamlessly through the air and then plunge into the ocean or emerge from it at speeds far greater beyond any human technology. The term is sometimes referred to as Transmedium capability. Since these crafts, often described by military personnel, exhibit such advanced capabilities, They must have a staging point, right? Someplace. The theory suggests that the deep ocean trenches or hidden continental shelves serve as secret bases for the extraterrestrial entities who are observing or operating on Earth. The Sycamore Knoll, Malibu base off the coast of Malibu, California. It's been at the center of a bunch of speculation. It's shaped like a giant Coliseum with supporting columns all around. Conspiracy theorists claim that this large, symmetrical feature, 2,000 feet deep, is a hidden alien base due to its unusual shape and reports of high concentrations of USO sightings in a nearby military training area, an area called Warning Area 291. Mainstream geologists, however, maintain that it's a natural geological formation. Okay, what if it's not aliens? What if it's humans? Unfortunately, going down this road may be as improbable as the whole alien theory. The technology and resources to build secret functioning habitats under the ocean. For advanced military bases theory, it proposes that the US, Russia, or China have constructed massive classified sub-oceanic bases for strategic reasons, such as housing nuclear submarines, conducting clandestine research, or serving as a command center safe from surface conflict. While deep-sea research, labs, and submarine docking stations do exist, the idea of a fully functioning secret city on the seafloor, it isn't supported by any kind of public evidence. What about a deep-sea ark? Survival habitat, less common, but it's still discussed. It's the idea that billionaires or global elites have privately funded the construction of doomsday survival habitats deep underwater, designed to shield them from cataclysmic surface events like nuclear war or extreme climate change. Well, here's one of the big stopping points, even for a guy like me who really wants to believe in this. I went out of my way to try to find any shred of real evidence to support these vast, beautiful underwater cities filled with happy, smart, beautiful people. I just can't. Nearly all the places experts suggest these city bases might be are the least explored, least populated, least lucrative parts of the Earth. How deep can humans go, by the way? Because you know they want to place all these bases and cities near the big trenches, these giant underwater caverns that are tens of thousands of feet deep. Well, an untrained person swimming in a lake might be able to go down 30 feet. Most introductory diving courses go to a maximum depth of about 60 feet. Now, with additional training, the maximum recommended depth is about 130 feet. Going beyond this significantly increases the risk of issues like nitrogen necrosis and decompression sickness. Technical divers can reach 100 meters or about 330 feet or more. Record dives, the world's deepest scuba dive, was about 1,100 feet, but compare this to the deepest assisted free dive, meaning no scuba gear, just holding your breath, 702 feet. Now, a German U-boat during World War II oftentimes didn't go below 400 feet, occasionally 500 feet. In danger and somebody chasing them, maybe 700, but things were pretty creaky at that point. Military submarines these days typically operate about 1,000 feet deep. Open literature says that the U.S. Los Angeles-class submarine operates at about 1,500 feet and a maximum depth of about 3,000 feet. With a bathysphere back in the 1940s, we were able to make it down to 4,000 feet. But the next generation of underwater vehicle, the Bathyscape, is the one that made it to the bottom of the Challenger Deep in the Mariana Trench. That's over 35,000 feet. By the way, at that depth, there's no sunlight. It's about 34 degrees, and it exerts a pressure of more than 1,000 times what we feel at sea level. By the way, in 2012, filmmaker James Cameron of Titanic and Avatar fame completed the first solo mission to the bottom of the Challenger Deep in his vessel, the Deep Sea Challenger. Since then, several other people have done it. The sea hides things, ruins, reefs, and sometimes our own reflections. People have reported company in the water for years. Most of it has explanations. Some of it asks for better data. Meanwhile, engineers have shown humans can live below the waves briefly, carefully, and expensively. If a true seafloor city appears in our lifetimes, it'll be because we measured before we dug, listened before we lit, and built repairable and honest and small before we dared to go grand. Dang. And I wanted this one to be true. I'm Alex, and this is WTF.